Welcome to The Explainer. You know, when you look at the market charts, things might seem a little quiet. But that's just the surface. Today, we're going to peel back that layer and look at what's really being built inside the Cardano ecosystem, way beyond the price.
So, let's start with a big question, one that I think is on a lot of people's minds, especially during a market dip like this. What actually happens when all the hype just fades away? When the noise dies down, what are you left with?
Well, the answer is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. The builders, they get to work. Seriously. This is the time right now when the real foundational stuff gets done. It's when the developers can finally put their heads down and just build, without all the crazy distractions of a bull market.
All right, let's dive into our first section here and look at performance by the numbers. We're talking hard data, the real metrics that show what's actually happening on the Cardano network. So check this out. Let's take a look at one project, Surf. Just in October, they blew past 15 million ADA in total value locked, TVL. And if you're not familiar, that's a huge metric. It basically shows how much money people are trusting and actively using inside their app. That number signals real confidence, for sure.
And that 15 million ADA, that's not even the whole picture. Not by a long shot. In that same month, they paid out over 70,000 ADA to their users, launched 3 major new features, wrapped up their second security audit, and even hired 2 new team members. This is a project that is absolutely firing on all cylinders.
Okay, now this is really cool. MekkaLabs is doing something fascinating. They're building a bridge between the digital world and the real physical world. They're not just selling you a JPEG. These NFTs are tied to actual physical Bitcoin miners. You can see it right here. 27 miners are online, and they're airdropping ADA back to the people who hold the NFTs. It's a direct line from a digital token to real-world hardware that's earning you yield. Pretty awesome.
Now, this chart really lays out the competitive scene. In the world of DEXs, decentralized exchanges, it's all about efficiency. How much bang are you getting for your buck? And look at this. WingRiders is #1 in capital efficiency. That means they're generating the most trading volume relative to the money locked in. They're also a top 3 player overall on Cardano. This tells you they aren't just big, they're smart.
But hey, it's not all about big numbers and smooth sailing, right? Real progress, it's about how you bounce back. So in this next part, we're going to look at how these projects turn challenges into real strength.
Okay, get this. Surf faced the single largest liquidation event in the entire history of Cardano. This is the definition of a stress test, a moment where everything could have just broken. And what happened? Nothing. Zero downtime. The protocol just handled it. That is the kind of battle-tested strength that you just can't fake. It builds serious long-term trust.
And look, other projects hit bumps in the road too. The ADA AI bot had a pretty big service interruption. But here's the thing, the team didn't go dark. They got right out in front of it, they were totally transparent, told their community exactly what was up, and made sure everyone knew their funds were safe. That kind of open communication, that builds a whole different kind of trust, and it's just as important. So here's another real-world curveball. You've got Orcfax, which is a super important data oracle. It's what feeds real-world info onto the blockchain. And then boom, their cloud provider, a little company called Amazon Web Services, has a massive outage. Everything goes down. I mean, this is the kind of external problem that can literally kill a project.
And this whole situation, it perfectly shines a light on a huge risk in tech called single vendor dependency. It's a fancy term for putting all your eggs in one basket, right? Even if you're building something decentralized, if you rely on one big company like AWS for a critical part, you have a single point of failure. So the big question is, what did Orcfax do about it? This is the best part. They didn't just patch the hole and move on. No way. They treated this failure as an opportunity. They identified the core weakness, that reliance on AWS, and immediately started building a decentralized fallback system using Arweave. They took a punch, got back up, and used it as a reason to become even more decentralized and a whole lot stronger. That's how you win in the long run.
So all this focus on building tough, resilient systems, it naturally leads us to what's next. Let's talk about the innovation pipeline. What is all this quiet work actually building toward for the future?
And man, the roadmap is just packed. You've got Surf working on their next-gen V2 smart contracts. Orcfax is diving deep into real-world assets and peer-to-peer networks. Fluid is integrating Orcfax into their next big lending product. MekkaLabs is scaling up its real-world Bitcoin mining. And ADA AI is getting ready to drop a huge new update. This isn't just about keeping the lights on, people. This is forward-thinking, groundbreaking innovation happening right now.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's simple. While the market might be sleepy, Cardano's builders are wide awake. They are shipping code, stress testing their systems, and laying a seriously strong foundation. And that just leaves us with one final question to think about. If this is the kind of stuff that gets built in the quiet, what happens next?